Upamecano, incredible defender. He does so much. He's very quick. He cleans up after himself, and by that I mean if he makes a mistake, he's very quick to get to the ball and to avoid this mistake getting any bigger than what it already was. All right, what's happening, everyone? Welcome to yet another episode of VMFC. Yours truly, Alex Pérez, joining you one more week at Alex Pérez on Twitter and on Instagram. As you can tell, I have the green screen set up, so I definitely feel a little bit more professional. I feel a lot more professional, and I feel like it'll enhance the whole experience of VMFC. We have a great show, an excellent show for you all. We're going to talk about Barcelona. We're going to talk about the Bundesliga title race. We're going to talk about the Serie. Oh my God, there's so much to talk about. But before we do so, you already know the drill. We got to get the important stuff out of the way first. If you're not following us on Twitter and on Instagram at Veterans Minimum, please do so. It takes you a couple seconds to open your app and follow us. Goes a long way. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Veterans Minimum, or in your search bar, you can look us up as Veterans Minimum Show. YouTube. It's very likely that you're watching this on YouTube, so if you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Subscribe, please. It takes you a couple seconds. All of these things, don't waste your time, all right? Just a couple seconds. YouTube.com/Veterans Minimum. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, of course, Apple Podcast and Spotify, the weekly show. Subscribe to the show. It goes a long way. Rate, review if you like it, if you hate it. Just give us a review. Let us know what you think. That is on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and of course on Blue Wire, bluewirepods.com. You can find our show right there. And Patreon, patreon.com/Veterans Minimum for $1 a month. All you need, $1 a month. You can get exclusive content. You'll get merch and early releases. Wow, I went through a lot right now. So, yeah, how about we get started? So you thought you had a bad week, huh? That's funny. Barcelona had an even worse week. And it all started last Monday when Ousmane Dembélé goes back to training. It appeared that finally Ousmane Dembélé was going to have a chance to break out, to avoid all these injuries, and he gets injured again. You can't make this stuff up. It's not funny that he gets injured. It's just funny that it keeps happening. Like, why, dude? Why? There's clearly something going on, and you can't even blame the training staff at Barcelona because it's him. It's him that doesn't put in the work. It's terrible. So now he's likely out for the remainder of the season, and there goes another attacking player for Barcelona. You can add Luis Suarez to that injury list. And then Eric Abidal, the sporting director of FC Barcelona, comes out and he blames the players for the sacking of Ernesto Valverde. He blames everyone, all the players. And Messi's like, oh, okay, all right. First of all, start specifying. We don't want to be generalized. Give us names. We want to know exactly who it is you are talking about. And Messi was mad because he even went on Instagram. He posted it on his story. He started it by saying, like, I don't like doing this, whatever. But he showed his discomfort. He didn't like the way that situation was handled. He just didn't like the way that he was put into this group that drove Ernesto Valverde out of Barcelona when clearly Lionel Messi was one of the guys that was defending Ernesto Valverde and wanted him to continue at Barcelona. So Messi was mad. Messi was pissed. He was heated. And automatically, you already know the drill. You know exactly how this goes. You know that as soon as Messi says something like, Barcelona's getting a little bit old. Barcelona isn't as fun as it used to be. Automatically, he's going to Manchester City. He's going to Chelsea. He's going to this. He's going to that. And these rumors started. And it just became, it had that snowball effect, you know? And Lionel Messi, all of a sudden, he's linked with Manchester City. He's linked with all these teams. And Barcelona's like, what? What do we do? We lost Ousmane Dembélé for the rest of the season. Our sporting director's blaming all the players. And now our best player in our history is probably leaving. That's just up until Wednesday. And then Thursday happens. We have that Copa del Rey game between Athletic Club Bilbao and Barcelona. And Barcelona, I watched the game and I actually didn't think that Barcelona played all that bad. They played pretty good, actually. They just didn't finish, which has been the issue with Barcelona throughout this entire season. They can't seem to finish any of these opportunities. And they lost last minute. They literally lost to a 90th minute header by Iñaki Williams. It probably looked like an own goal. Not probably. It did look like an own goal. But either way, the ball went in. Barcelona knocked out from the Copa del Rey. It actually didn't look as bad because Real Madrid was knocked out as well. But still, you really don't want to be eliminated from the Copa del Rey in such an early stage. Of course, considering that Barcelona had won like 4 consecutive Copa del Rey titles, and then they went to the final last year, even though they lost, but they were still there. And now, Messi, unhappy. Barcelona, eliminated. Your sporting director is talking smack. And you're in second place in La Liga. That is just atrocious. That's terrible. What is going on at Barcelona? What is happening with this team, this juggernaut that was Barcelona not too long ago? And this really all circles back to the poor transfers that Barcelona has had. They've been absolutely terrible. Again, you look at a guy like Ousmane Dembele, who's probably played like a handful of games in how many years? Like 2. He's been at Barcelona for like 2 years or something like that. Coutinho, who doesn't even play for Bayern Munich, let alone for Barcelona. I mean, this poor guy, this poor individual, he's just been, from bad to worse. And he's going to go back to Barcelona at the end of the season because Bayern doesn't want him. So what's Barcelona going to do now? They're going to likely sell him for way less than what they bought him for. Yerry Mina no longer plays for Barcelona. He was a flop, even though he was a really good defender. I don't know why he didn't play. Whatever. Malcolm, we know how that went. Alex Vidal, Todibo. All of these guys have not panned out. And it's for whatever reason Barcelona has not been able to sign players. Their signings haven't been panning out after Neymar left. So it's just Barcelona with terrible, absolutely terrible transfers, terrible signings. They don't pan out, and then it's literally just Messi and Messi, Ter Stegen, and 9 other guys. That's really what Barcelona is right now. It's kind of sad seeing how bad Barcelona has looked. And you kind of look at these signings and you're like, wow, most of these signings are not signings that they needed. It was just a big name was available. They asked them like, oh, would you like to play for Barcelona? And they're like, yeah, of course. And Barcelona was like, all right, let's go sign him. That's not how it should be. You should address your needs. And Barcelona has some needs. They have a lot of needs. Of course, they got rid of Ernesto Valverde. Looking at it now, of course, without him in the picture anymore, it's like, maybe he wasn't the problem, but it is what it is. You have another manager now, so you can't really do anything about it. Barcelona has a deficiency at center back and at striker. And now, sure, it kind of sounds a little outdated now that, of course, we watched Barcelona beat Betis in the weekend. They beat them 3-2, and their center back scored a goal. But still, it's just they need a replacement for Gerard Piqué. They need a replacement for Luis Suarez, and you need to find quote unquote somewhat of a replacement for Lionel Messi. And those are the necessities. Those are the needs that Barcelona has right now. And it's pretty evident. It shows every time that they play all these deficiencies that they have and that they haven't addressed. It's pretty obvious. It's very, very obvious that Barcelona needs these players. They need a little bit more depth in this squad. And they don't have it, and it shows as the season goes on. The more games you play, the more intense these games are. It's showing. Your players are not putting forth their best foot. They are tired. They're exhausted. They've been playing all season. They've been playing at a high level because they've been down in a lot of these games and they had to make comebacks. So it's just showing. It's showing that the squad isn't deep enough and that maybe the stamina isn't there. The conditioning is not there for these players. Barcelona, I hate to break it to you all Barca fans, but it looks like Barcelona's probably not going to win any titles this season. It's looking very, very evident that this team is not going to win any titles. Not a single title this season. Copa del Rey, which was probably the easiest title for them, it's not there anymore. They're eliminated. They can't win. In La Liga, second place. To a Real Madrid that's been playing very well. Or that has been getting results. Maybe not playing very well, but has been getting results. And in the Champions League, if you have to face a team like Liverpool that is very good physically, we're probably going to see something similar to what we saw last year. This Barcelona squad isn't built to win titles. This Barcelona squad is just built to win some games and maybe get lucky. That's really what they have just with Lionel Messi. He's the best player in the world, but he can't do everything. It's just one guy. But here's the thing. Not all is lost with Barcelona. Not everything is lost. Because I do see a scenario where Barcelona can get lucky and win a title somehow, some way. This scenario consists of 3 points. The first one, Luis Suarez has to come back very, very much earlier than what we expected. He has to come back in like March or like very early April. If they're still in the Champions League, that's a plus. If they're just battling for La Liga, then, you can kind of take it a little easier. But if they're still fighting in the Champions League, it'll be a massive addition for Luis Suarez to come back from his injury. It's not likely, but if he comes back earlier than expected, Barcelona has a boost all of a sudden. The second point in this scenario, the starters and the frequent subs have to stay healthy. If they don't stay healthy, which has been part of the issue with Barcelona this season, then I really don't see this team contending for absolutely anything. But if they can stay healthy, and they can stay at a level in which they produce some good games, then Barcelona has a chance. They have a fighter's chance. And the third thing, Messi has to play at a ridiculous level. Think about the best period that Messi has had in his career. He has to do that times 10. Because this squad is not enough. It is not enough. So it's kind of crazy that Barcelona depends on, at least for me, they depend on these 3 things to win a title. Just one. That's it. And of course, if they get to win the Champions League, you can just scrap absolutely everything that I said, and we'll talk about this season being a success for Barcelona. But let's be realistic. Let's be real. Let's look at ourselves in the mirror and say, does Barcelona really have it in them? As of right now, no, they don't. They don't have the depth. They don't have the conditioning. They don't have the players. They don't have the style, really, if they even have one. Man, it is incredible for me to say this, but Barcelona is very likely, very, very likely. I'd bet my money on this, that Barcelona is going to have a trophyless season. Some important games were played this weekend in the Bundesliga title race. Bayern Munich and Leipzig played in a very important game, but first we're going to talk about Borussia Dortmund and their game against Bayer Leverkusen. My goodness, was that an incredible game. First of all, if you guys don't know, Bayern Munich dropped points away from home. Oh my God, it's so frustrating. It is just so frustrating with Borussia Dortmund. I hope I said Borussia Dortmund. It's so frustrating with Borussia Dortmund because it looks like they're going to get there and they can make it to like second place, maybe even first, and then they lose. And it's not just that they lose these games, it's the way that they lose them. They were winning 3-2 against Bayer Leverkusen. And it looked like they were going to close out. They were going to win the game. And Bayer Leverkusen comes back and beats them 4-3. And now Bayer Leverkusen is contending for the title too. They're in 5th place and they have 37 points. Dortmund 39 points. So, if all goes well for Bayer Leverkusen, they can finish as high as 3rd. I mean, you can even go crazy and say that Bayer Leverkusen can win the Bundesliga, but that might be a little bit too much to ask for. But it was still a great game. Excellent game. Erling Haaland didn't score, so I was kind of sad. Jadon Sancho just kept assisting. I think he scored a goal. But this Bayern squad, so young, so fun to watch. But at the same time, it's like, guys, can we just close out a game? Can we win? Can we not suffer? Their goalkeeper, Roman Bürki, might be, if I'm not mistaken, last time I heard, he's the goalkeeper that has conceded the most goals throughout the entire season in the Bundesliga. So that's terrible. Something has to be done. Defensively, Borussia Dortmund is just not very well structured. And if you are a championship winning team, it is likely that you have a very good defense. So Bayern Munich doesn't have a good defense, doesn't have a good defensive structure. That's why they're likely not a championship team, and that's why they can't close out games exactly like what happened on Saturday. But the marquee game was Sunday morning, and it was Bayern against Leipzig. Bayern Munich came into this game with 42 points, first place. Leipzig, 41 points, second place. Leipzig dropped points. They lost the previous weekend. Bayern Munich are on a tear. They've won like the last 4 games. And you look at this and you're like, oh, this is where Bayern Munich wins the Bundesliga, right? This is where they come out and they beat the young team 3-4-0. They dominate in every aspect of the game. And they just take the Bundesliga from now until April or early May. They take it by storm. They win it. And they're champions again. But no, not necessarily. Because tactically, the young manager, Julian Nagelsmann, I've been paying so much attention to him and his tactics. He just put an incredible game together, an incredible game plan for RB Leipzig together. They were very disciplined on defense. The back 3 were playing incredible. Of course, Upamecano. If Arsenal were to get Upamecano, my goodness, they would be so much better defensively. But that's a different story. We'll talk about that later on. Upamecano, incredible defender. He does so much. He's very quick. He cleans up after himself. And by that, I mean if he makes a mistake, he's very quick to get to the ball and to avoid this mistake getting any bigger than what it already was. The fullbacks, or the wingbacks in this case, because they were playing with a backline of 3, the wingbacks played an incredible game. Angelino, who didn't impress me much at Manchester City, and I didn't watch him much at PSV Eindhoven. I don't know, I had a bad impression about him. I didn't think that he was a very good player, and then Pep Guardiola shipped him out, and I'm like, okay, so maybe he's really not a good player. But I watched them play against Bayern Munich, and he played a very good game. He's very good attacking, of course, and defensively he's very good. He's on the shorter side, so he's a little bit more aggressive. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. That's pretty much what it looks like. And he played a really good game. He helped a lot. And then on the other side, on the right, Tyler Adams. What position didn't he play against Bayern Munich? He literally played every single position on the right. He played right back, right mid. He played right wing. He played in every single position you can think of. He played very well. That duel between him and Alphonso Davies, oh my God. It was incredible. We'll get to Alphonso Davies in a bit. But it was just a very good game, a very good tactical game by Julian Nagelsmann and RB Leipzig. Of course, defensively, they didn't give up much. The Bayern Munich had their first real clear chance until like the 70-something minute. Before that, they had a shot from the outside of the box by Thiago, and it was saved by Gulacsi. And that's it. That was really all. They had a lot of possession, Bayern, but they didn't really get to RB Leipzig's goal. And then Timo Werner's miss. Ugh, that was it. That was it to make it 1-0. 63rd minute. Those are the chances that Timo Werner never misses. And he decides to miss against Bayern Munich in arguably the most important game of the entire season. He misses. That was bad. a one-on-one. All he had to do was slide it home. Manuel Neuer was probably not going to get to it because of the speed that he was going to hit the ball, that he hit the ball with. But there wasn't much accuracy. So there's the big issue. That's why the ball didn't go in. But Bayern, I mentioned that they didn't have a lot of shots. They didn't perhaps play all that well, but they did keep the possession and they imposed their will. They had the ball and they're like, all right, you know what? We're Bayern Munich. We're going to keep the ball. We're going to do what we please because we're at home. All right. They showed their offensive weapons very early. Thomas Müller, he played a very good game. Surprisingly, he was pretty much scrapped by Niko Kovac, and now this new manager comes in, and Thomas Müller is a starter. Of course, Lewandowski, he's had his share of misses. I do have a bit of an issue with him that he tends to not show up in these big games. And I think yesterday, the time that I'm recording this, was one of those examples where Robert Lewandowski just doesn't seem to show up when it matters most. Serge Gnabry, he's a threat all the time. Thiago Alcantara, if Barca still had Thiago, my goodness, they would be a completely different team. That's what happens. You don't know what you have until it's gone. And then Alphonso Davies. I don't think I have seen a faster player than Alphonso Davies. This guy, he had a play early in the first half where he loses the ball, and on the right side, on the right wing, I forget, it wasn't Tyler Adams. It was, I believe it might have been Nkunku or Timo Werner that tried to, that dribbled past the midfield, and they were on their way. They were running towards goal, and Alphonso Davies just hit a gear in which it was just incredible. I'm at a loss of words how fast he got to the ball after he lost it, and he had no issue. He had no issue getting the ball back. He's so quick. He's so fast, and he's also very technically sound. Because some players are just very quick, and you look at them take a first touch, and you're like, ugh, man, just you should have just done marathons for a living or sprints for a living. But this guy, very, very good player, plays left back, plays left wing. He actually mentioned once that he hates playing left back, but he does it so well. So are you going to take him out of that position if he plays so well, even if it's not something that he enjoys? I wouldn't. I'd keep him there. I'd make him like it because he's so good. He's so quick. He's so fun to watch. I'm talking like if this game ended like 3-3. It ended 0-0. But it was a really good game, a very interesting 0-0. This is the type of 0-0 that you show someone that doesn't like soccer, and you're like, this is why we watch the game. This is it. You kind of like walk them through what happened, and you show them, hey, this is why we watch soccer. It was so much fun. 0-0, very impressive. To me, I was expecting RB Leipzig to crumble under this type of pressure, and they didn't. They didn't score, but they didn't crumble, which, had it been by Borussia Dortmund, I'm pretty sure they would have conceded like 3 or 4 goals in this game. So props to Nagelsmann. Props to that very, very young team. Showed a lot of grit, a lot of composure in a giant game with a lot of stakes. A whole lot of stakes going into the end of the Bundesliga. It was a fair result, though. I have to say, it was very even. Fair result, 0-0. It could have ended 1-1. Whatever. A tie. Point for each team. Go home. But now let's take a look at the table, the top 5 of this Bundesliga. Bayern Munich, first place, 43 points. A couple of weeks ago, I was like, Bayern Munich, 4th place. Ooh, who knows? Let's see how they do. I should have known. I should have known that they were going to be in first place sooner or later. RB Leipzig, 2nd place, 42 points. Borussia Dortmund, 39 points. And Borussia Mönchengladbach, 39 points, tied there in 3rd place. And in 5th place, you have Bayer Leverkusen with 37 points. If this title race was good in January, I can't even imagine what it's going to be like in a couple of weeks. It is so exciting right now. You really don't know what games to watch because it is so interesting. It is so compelling. This entire end of the season is going to be incredibly fun, unless Bayern Munich just takes over and they decide to ruin all the fun for us, which could be likely, but they tend to ruin the fun for a lot of people. But you know what? One thing is for certain. If you want to watch fun games where you really genuinely have no idea who's going to win, the Bundesliga is for you. And maybe this next league that I'm going to talk about right now. Do you guys remember the last time that the Serie A was actually compelling and fun to watch? It's been years. It's really been years since the Serie A title race was genuinely interesting. This season, though, we are very lucky to be witnessing one of the closest Serie A title races we have ever seen. It is so much fun to watch. I never thought I would be sitting down and actually be excited to watch a Serie A game. So, in addition to the Bundesliga, you have the Serie A. So, you really have no idea what game to watch in the weekend. And that's a good problem. I'd say that that's a very, very good problem. Inter was leading throughout majority of the league. They were at the top of the table, and then suddenly Juventus just starts to take over. Inter drops a couple points here and there. Juventus doesn't. They get the results, and all of a sudden, Juventus is in first place. Of course, similar to Germany, Bayern all of a sudden first place. Juventus all of a sudden first place. But this weekend, Juventus dropped points. They dropped points to Hellas Verona, who isn't a very good team, but they dropped points. They lost 2-1. And that automatically made Inter versus AC Milan that much more interesting. Ooh, excuse me. One of the more important derbies in all of Europe. But if you need something to intrigue you just a little bit more to watch the Serie A, take a look at this. Lazio. They're in third place. They beat Parma 1-0. And now they're in third with 53 points. That was on Saturday. So now not only do you have Inter and Juve in the title race, you have Lazio in there as well. My goodness. When was the last time you saw this in Italy? It's just incredible. And then, of course, that Juve and Lazio, that all happened on Saturday. And now Sunday comes around, and we have Inter against AC Milan. Of course, like I said, one of the more interesting games in all of Europe. And Inter had, should they win, they go to the top of the Serie A again by goal differential. And they started losing 2-0 to AC Milan. They went into halftime losing 2-0 to AC Milan, a team that has been rebuilding for like the last 6 years. Poor AC Milan, man. I remember when they were a European giant and Ronaldinho was playing there and Kaká was playing there. David Beckham played there. Of course, you have guys like Maldini and Nesta and just a very, very good team. And now they're getting scraps. But Zlatan Ibrahimovic scored a goal. He scored a goal against Inter, his old team. And at halftime, it looked like maybe Juventus was going to go into this week first place of the Serie A. But don't worry, Inter Milan fans. Something shifted. Something changed. And as soon as the second half started, the shift was completely evident. Inter Milan just turned it up to a level in which they probably hadn't turned up to this entire season. They played out of their minds. 10 minutes in, they were tied 2-2. Of course, the second goal was a little bit controversial. Maybe Alexis Sanchez was offside. But it doesn't matter. They were tied 2-2. VAR said, no, he's not offside. It's a goal. Of course, you look at it from a different angle. We'll talk about VAR some other time. We can make like 7 different segments for all of this, for VAR. But Inter showed urgency. They showed that they wanted to win. They showed a champion's mentality. And they tied 2-2. And then Stefan de Vrij scored an excellent header off of a set piece. 3-2. And then to top everything off, arguably Inter Milan's best player throughout the entire season, Romelu Lukaku, turns up and he scores the goal that sealed the win in the first place spot for Inter Milan, at least for this week. He scores the 4th goal, takes off his jersey, celebrates like crazy. I was so happy for him. because, of course, all the criticism he received when he was still with Manchester United, a little bit unfair maybe, sure, but he really wasn't performing. And now he goes to another team, to another league, and he plays very well. And it's evident. It's it's evident what's going on with Manchester United. I don't want to talk too much about that, but it's very evident. It's real. These players leave Manchester United and they play so well. They play incredibly well. And now Inter Milan is in first place of the Serie A. And that was so much fun to watch. That game was so much fun to watch. All heart. Skill, of course, but all heart, all courage. From the players, from the fans. And you just have to absolutely love Il Derby della Madonnina. Incredible. Incredible game. So much fun. Now you have a very hot title race in the Serie A. Let's take a look at the table. Inter has 54 points, tied with Juventus 54. And then Lazio has 53 points in third place. So Lazio can very likely win this title. We talked about Bayer Leverkusen last segment, how they can maybe win the Bundesliga. But that one looks a little bit less likely. This one, though, my goodness. Lazio is very close to winning, and there's actually a way for them to end in first place next weekend. Because next Sunday, Lazio and Inter face off at the Stadio Olimpico. If Lazio wins, if they beat Inter, and Juve loses, which, to be fair, isn't very likely because they face Brescia, then Lazio is in first place. Lazio would be in first place should all of that happen. And even if they beat Inter and Juventus wins, they're still going to be, they're going to be in second place. And it's going to be that much closer. There are 3 different outcomes. 3 very possible outcomes that we can see at the end of this season. It is incredible how competitive the Serie A has been all season. And I am here to see it. So much fun. Oh my God, that game was so much fun. If you guys have some time, go back and watch Inter against AC Milan because that game was so much fun. It was so cool, so passionate. And even more, if you know what this game meant to Inter Milan, it just makes it that much more interesting. Like this league. When was the last time you were intrigued by the Serie A? When was the last time we saw 3 different scenarios very likely to play out at the end of the season? Guys, we are being blessed with these title races. By this time, a few years ago, we would have been like, all right, well, Bayern Munich won the Bundesliga and, Juventus won the Serie A. Not this time. We have very interesting title races, and we have a lot to watch for these next couple of weekends. All right, guys, and that'll do it from me, of course, VMFC episode number 6. I hope you all enjoyed this one. I knew it was going to be a very fun one because when I was preparing the show, I was smiling all throughout. I'm like, oh my goodness, there's so much to talk about, and it's so interesting. I love this. I absolutely do. You can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at AlexPerezFC. Again, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Give this video a like or whatever you want to do. Subscribe to the channel. Do what you got to do. I'll be back next week. I hope you guys like this new setup. I feel like it's a little bit more professional. I even have these little in-ear monitors, which have been bothering me. I got to be honest. They've been bothering me this entire time because I can't seem to, get used to them. But whatever. It is what it is. I'll get used to them eventually. That is it for me. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.